Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Let's see. This is probably going to be quick because I just did a 4-hour long video with oh Jesus Christ, what's his name? What is his name? Holly Siegler. Oh, dude, I'm sorry. I cannot remember your name. I can't remember your names, man. I can't believe I can't remember his name. It's vanished. Long story short, Holly Siegler, Red Economics, Guard Gnome, there was somebody else. Holly Siegler, Red Economics, James. Yeah, James. That's what it was. So, Holly Siegler, Red Economics, James, Guard Gnome, and eventually it ended up being the cat from the Green Party, Eric. It was a lot of people. It was a lot of us. But so this one is not going to be long because I've spent a lot of my energies in that one. But I had already this one was already queued up, so I kind of want to do this one. There's been first blood in the Mueller investigation. First blood, first political blood. I don't know if you remember Michael Flynn. Mike Flynn was fired as NSA, security advisor. Excuse me, National Security Advisor for Donald Trump. Well, in addition to being fired for National Security Advisor, he has now been prosecuted and he has just pled guilty. There's a slight comedic angle to this, and it probably shouldn't be comedic and irrational and a fair and just and empathetic society, but there is a certain comedic element to this. This is the Guardian. Michael Flynn, who led the lock her up chant, enters a guilty plea. He enters a guilty plea. Just so we know who this guy is. Flynn was once Trump's favorite general who warmed up the Republican candidates' rallies with fiery speeches and bolstered his unlikely credentials as a potential commander-in-chief of the world's most powerful military. He was rewarded with the job of National Security Advisor at the start of the administration. But he was fired just a month into the White House for misleading Vice President Pence over his contacts with the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kalashnikov. I'm sorry, dude. He is now the first aide who worked in the Trump administration, as opposed to just the campaign, to face charges in the special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation into alleged collusion with Russia. Just so we know who this guy is.
We do not need a weak, spineless president who is more concerned about issuing apologies than in protecting Americans. We do not need a reckless president who believes she is above the law. Lock her up. That's right. That's right. Lock her up. I'm going to tell you what. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah. I use hashtag Never Hillary. That's what I use. I have called on Hillary Clinton. I have called on Hillary Clinton to drop out of the race because she put our nation's security at extremely high risk with her careless use of a private email server. Lock her up. Lock her up. You guys are good. Damn right. You're exactly right. There's nothing wrong with that. You know why we're saying that? We're saying that because if I, a guy who knows this business, if I did a tenth of what she did, I would be in jail today.
You're on your way, buddy. You're on your way. Lock her up. Lock her up. If I did a tenth of what she did, I'd be in jail today. Not exactly today, but probably within the next few weeks. This guy who was like, damn right, lock her up. Damn right. Damn right. That's right, lock her up. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Lock her up. Lock her up. Damn right. Damn right. If I did a tenth of what she did, I'd be in jail today. Well, buddy, talking about words coming back to bite you in the ass. You kind of did a tenth of what she did, and you are going to prison. So when the crowd chanted "lock her up" about Hillary, Michael Flynn smiled. You're damn right. He told last year's Republican National Convention, you're exactly right. There's nothing wrong with that. And you know what we're saying? We're saying that because if I, a guy who knows this business, if I did a tenth of what she did, I will be in jail today. On Friday, Flynn's bravado and righteousness had been stripped away. A humbled Flynn buttoned his jacket as he walked into the United States District Court in Washington to be greeted by an austere trappings of a federal courthouse with its solemn lawyers, stiff-backed marshals, and hungry reporters. Flynn, the man who once led crowds and calls for Clinton to be put behind bars, found himself standing before a judge pleading guilty to making false statements to the FBI and facing a possible prison term. Not the first time in Donald Trump's presidency, it was the kind of plot twist that most thriller writers would avoid as just too improbable. Clinton herself maintained a diplomatic silence. But for her supporters, a sense of schadenfreude may be irresistible. Yeah. I'll put the article at the bottom. There is like I said, there's a comedic element to this. It's like you're screaming at the top of your lungs and get somebody put in prison, talking about if I did a tenth of it, and then you find out that you did do some fraction of it and that you are potentially going to prison yourself. Yeah, that's rough. That's I would imagine Hillary Clinton supporters will have some kind of, sick schadenfreude associated with it. The only thing that will probably make it better is if they could find something to put Bernie Sanders inside prison with him. It's like this Russian investigation and Mueller just calls Bernie Sanders' name out of a hat. They're like, well, what? That will make their lives complete. So I will put both articles at the bottom. Yeah, I put both articles at the bottom. I'll leave it at that. This wasn't going to be long. Let's see. Mark P. It's weird that the collusion in this thing now. Nixon cooperated with the Vietnamese during the war. Yes. Reagan did the same thing with the Iranians. Yes. I love it that my audience knows that. I fucking love it that my audience knows that. Robert Bouquet Ray Flynn about to snitch like a mofo. I know, right? Keep me out of this cage. Rebel Cage Rattler. He's like, I can't believe he's here. Garden Gnome. We can only hope he's on his way. Tomosi Young. It seems unreal that someone in power actually admits to guilt. They put the screws to him, the special counselor. Look, man, I've said before, I think firing Comey was a problem. I think that was a bad move for Trump. I understand why he did it, but now you have this guy who's a special prosecutor who seems to be intent on putting people in prison. It's Washington. Do you honestly believe that the allegiances that these guys have are just kind of, completely impartial and everything else? And is that what you want to bet your presidency on? I don't. Rebel Cage Rattler, lock him up! Yeah, I know, right? I know. Can you imagine Peter fucking Dow? I imagine Peter Dow is like, just have a complete hard-on as he's watching this. He's probably touching himself massively inappropriately, just treating his body inappropriately. Garnome is going to wrap himself in his Hillary blanket. Have a good night, dude. Redneck Economics. Oh my God, dude, you're a machine. I had the story queued up. It was literally queued up to run just before I did the other one, so might as well get it out, get it over with. Winky the Burnable, Jamal, you're a night owl. Yeah, I don't sleep well. I tend to be an insomniac. So when you see me up at like 3 in the morning doing these, it's not because I want to be up. It's because I can't sleep. Winky the Burnable, watching a Final Fantasy ad. No way. On mine? No fucking way. And those are actually good ads. Like, those are, I would sit for a full fantasy ad. Those things are fascinating. Snort, geez, you all look familiar. Where have I seen you before? No, right? Hey, Winkle, it was a pleasure to see you tonight. Rebel Cage Rattler, it was a pleasure to see you too. I enjoyed it. I like it. It's fun. It's absolutely fun. Yeah, big thanks for doing the panel. I had a blast too, Stevie. You should try listening to Sleep With Me podcast. What's Sleep With Me podcast? Doug Lane. That sounds dirty, man. That sounds dirty. I think you just made a pass at me, dude. I am telling. Surely, Vic, there is more to this story. I would imagine there is. The most young. How many Final Fantasies can there be? There are like 20 of them. Like 12, I thought. I thought there was a lot. Yeah, there you go. There are more 15. Kalita, yeah. They're a ton. One of the Final Fantasies, the guy ended up being a dream. Like, not a character in a dream. The dream itself. Meaning somebody else is having a dream, and this particular character finds himself to be the dream itself. The totality of the dream is him. Whatever's elements in the dream and everything else, he finds himself to be a dream. It's the weirdest fucking series. It's absolutely weird. Flynn was anti-war. BB Hammer, Zoxavix. To placate Flynn, I wonder what they're offering him. I would imagine less jail time. Hey everybody, Dominique Bruselli, Rebel Cage Rally. Thank you, Jamal. Likewise, my brother from another mother. Fair enough. Kalita, Titus F10. FF10. I don't know what that is. BB Hammer. Flynn got a plea deal. This is nothing burger. Yeah, he got a plea deal. You think Trump is going to bail him out? Do you think Trump is going to give him a pardon if he gets, convicted? I don't know what they were thinking. X-2, worst game I've ever played. I'm talking behind the scenes. Zavix. Final Fantasy. Yeah. I say Titus just sells wrong. Titus just sells wrong. A.K. Ross kicked ass. They published extra pictures and a CGI character in the graphics magazine. To beat them rank is 45 over watching. I am shocked by that. Yeah, I'm shocked by that. I usually keep it going when there's a lot of people on it, so I'm torn by this. This wasn't a topic that I can support a lot of people on. Red Economic spoilers. Flynn is getting shafted, and they all know it because the hill dog raped him for her Russia lies. Oh, that's gross. That's kind of rough. I'm a big Final Fantasy fan. Oh, Winkle Burning. That's funny. They must be giving Flynn something to keep his mouth shut. I don't know. I mean, we don't know what Flynn knows. It's very possible that Flynn. It's very possible. And I suspect it's true that there's no connection between Trump and Russia from the standpoint of this kind of collusion for the election. Which means that these things can be distinct entities unto themselves. Flynn could have had some relationship because he was trying to monetize some relationship. That doesn't necessarily mean that included Trump. That's all it means. So what they were willing to give him, he may not necessarily have anything to give. Nothing to trade. Flynn lies about nothing to FBI. Big deal. Big news. LOL. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton. Yeah, I agree with you on that. BB Hammer, I agree with you. Flynn screaming, lock her up, sounds, kind of fucking insane, seeing as what he and stuff got caught into. But let's be honest. They're not crazy. I mean, when they're looking at all this stuff and this corruption is coming up, you have all these Democrats like, you can't lock Hillary Clinton up. You can't investigate Hillary Clinton. Why is she immune from investigation? I don't understand why she's immune from investigation. Dominique Buscemi is a very common name, Rebel Cage Rattler. Andrew Sanders, 5D chess. Mueller is what Trump is using to distract Democrats. Start paying attention every time Mueller has breaking news. You see Trump doing something big like tax cuts today. Right now, bullshit, man. I was just thinking about you earlier. Rebel Cage Rattler. Dom. Oh, what is Dom? Oh, Dominic. I thought you were saying something else. Eternal Sonata is an RPG about Chopin and his dying dream. It was a trip. Without Remorse 12. The plea was a lesser charge. Prosecutors would love to get creative with the charge people. It's clear cooperation. Yeah, this idea of saying, look, we're going to put you in prison for 30 years if you don't, if you don't take a plea deal for 5. No mods here. BB blames someone else. LOL. BB Hammer. I am a woman. I'm a woman. I have breasts and a vagina. You go, BB. Stand up for your womanness. Rubber Cage Rattler. Oh, yes. They can investigate that skinky ass Hillary. Biatch. Yeah, I think so too. An investigation. That's what they're talking about. Just an investigation. Why are these? Are you telling me that they honestly believe that the Clinton Foundation is on the up and up? There was no real investigation that took place with those emails because, for the most part, we knew Comey had the fix in already. She skated. She skated on something that wasn't even a real investigation. It's like, come on. Hey, you Redneck Economics. Bullshit, man. What's happening, bullshit, man? Tay Ray, BB Hammer, thanks for letting me know. Uh-oh. You're about to be hit on. Shirley Vick, people may disagree with me, but Flynn would be a better national security advisor. He wanted to curb the U.S. from arming ISIS. Yeah, I gotta be honest. I don't know a huge amount about Flynn's policies in this one. I always get a little freaked out by having all these military guys in the government in this way. Do we have civilian rule of the military or not? Do all these guys having this kind of overweight of influence in regards to military, these neocons? I'm a little sketchy with this. I mean, granted, that it's not like the person who they replaced Flynn with is any better. I agree with you. It's probably worse. It's probably worse. Chad Wilson, progressive people, unite! Unite. Just the epic job you do on a video showing Cenk argue with himself. Bullshit, man. That's hilarious. I gotta see that one. That has to be funny. I have to see that one. No, but me knows how bad I wish it was on the investigation panel. Would love to be part looking that bitch up. Yeah, locking that bitch up. Flynn would have also. Without remorse, 12. Hillary is an insider. Donald Trump is not. He's an embarrassment to the establishment. Agreed. Agreed. And I think he rips the mask off of what it means to be America. Which means that grotesque look. It's something that can destabilize the country to the point of getting the country awake. Particularly if he's doing something absolutely grotesque that drags the public out of his complacency. I think you have a better chance with something like that with the Trump than you have with the Clinton. I think Clinton is just kind of soothing antiseptic that allows people to go to sleep, whereas Donald Trump is just an act, you know, he's an irritant of sorts. I don't think they want irritants. And lock up Michael Flynn too. They are locking up Michael Flynn. That's the whole point. They're locking up Michael Flynn. I'm fine as the James mods aren't here. I'm fine as long as James mods aren't here. I don't know what that means. Bruins for free speech. Someone who has posted in chat rooms advises others to grow up. Piss off troll. Oh wow. Someone who has posted another. You guys are fighting on my channel? What? Be adults, people. Be adults. Khalida, I have to say, I've never seen Donald Trump as an actual leader. No, I don't think anyone has. Okay, that's not fair. Some of that stuff is perspective, so I got to give people their perspective, space, or latitude. If you have a childish view of the world, that's arrogant, but I'll take it. I'll stand by it. If you have a childish view of the world, you may look at Donald Trump and say, oh, he's a big alpha male. You may think that's leadership quality. To you, then you may actually believe that that's some kind of leadership quality. I would say that's a lesser quality, but you may think it's a leadership quality. Rate on economics, how awesome. It's been busy, by the way. What is that? What is that? What is that? By the way, did I miss a live stream with you, Jamal, and Holly at some stage? Yes, it was today. It was today. It was today. You missed it. It was today. It was today. You horrible person. You missed it. I'm joking bullshit, man. Yeah. Hey guys, come on guys, don't do this on Jamal's channel, please. I have no idea what's taking place. I'm not new to this chat already calling me a troll. Oh, how's he a troll? He's not a troll. He's just... I gotta be honest, guys. I don't, you know, my rule, the rule I always go by for my chats and everything else. I apply the same rule if you're not having a conversation. Give people their space to say what they say, as long as they're being earnest and honest about it. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Don't have to agree. I like this idea of having conversations about people that don't necessarily agree. If he's being a troll, then yes, you can call him a troll. But up to this point, I haven't seen anyone be a troll. So, give him the benefit of the doubt. He might have been a troll in somebody else's thing. It's like, yes, he might have been robbing cars when he was in Chicago, but now he's in Richmond and he's fair game. He's okay. Ariel. Oh, Ariel. Hi, bullshit man. Shirley Bruins. Hope you all have been well. I also hope that everyone has been well. To mostly young, same corporate masters. Yeah, we just finished up. PB Hammer Jamal. I was attacked as a troll in James's chat. His mods made it worse. What did you say, BB Hammer? Wait, what are you out there doing? You breaking windows and kicking puppies? Bruins for free speech. Ariel Virgo loves Leo. Oh. Virgo loves Leo. My wife is a Leo. I'm a Virgo. Oh, much love to you both. That's funny. I love that. I love the astrological humor. I'm from Virginia, Jamal. Like Jamal, deal with it. Jamal, did you catch Tim asking you to come on his show yesterday? I did not. Tim who? Tim Black? I did not. I did not. Coyote Bongwater. Make America gilded age again. We're already gilded age again. We're at this level of wealth of pharaohs. It's fucking amazing. Tax bill passed. That's going to anger so many people. Hope finally people wake up to politicians, all sides of what, so forth. From your mouth to God's ears, bullshit, man. I'm skeptical. I am skeptical. I used to love taboo words. Screw loose. Oh no. Yeah, screw loose is funny. Don't start that shit again. Just let it go. Aren't there more important things to fight over? What is being fought over? I don't understand what's being fought over. Explain it to me. Bring me into the conversation. I want to know. I want to know. Oh my God, it passed. Any Democrats sign it? Oh, it did pass. Wow. Well, they said they had the votes. Help me, Holly. Help me, Jamal. I've friended both of you. Corker was the only Republican not to pass, so they had one vote. Wasn't Joe Manchin and 12 others going to sign it? Joe Manchin. There was no way Joe Manchin was going to sign that. I think there was no way. There was no way. Let me ask this then. For those people who voted for Trump, explain to me. Trump care. That's not what he said he was going to do. The majority of the public was against it, including Trump's own supporters. This tax bill. Again, the majority of the public is against it. The overwhelming majority of the public is against it. They're doing it anyway. Net neutrality. The overwhelming majority of the public is against it. They're doing it anyway. They said they were against raising anything on the debt. They raised the debt by $9 trillion once they got into office. At which point, and just so we're clear, ask the same question of Democrats, of Democratic voters. At which point do you accept that neither one of these parties are representing your interests? And ultimately, these are a bunch of rapacious sociopaths who find ways to create a system where they can rape you of your resources. Democrats may do it less, but ultimately they agree on the same ground rules because they're paid by the same people. At which point, I'm saying it with a whisper. I'm not screaming, I'm not bitching, I'm not moaning. I'm just asking this kind of damning question of at which point do you look at this president and the things that he's doing, and you look at the party that you've supported, and you said, this is not representing my interests. Not saying that the Democrats are, but this particular specific party that I voted for is not representing my interests. I'm just looking for honesty and integrity. And there is no way you can look at all of the things that these guys have been trying to push through and believe in any honest way that this stuff is in your benefit. Yeah, I think it's fair. Let's see. I hope Paula kicks his ass out of office. I do too. Absolutely. Dax Jacobson. Now McConnell is putting through nominations that have been delayed too. Not surprised. Joe Manchin is a Dinkelberg. Wait, Joe Manchin signed on to this? No fucking way. There's no way Joe Manchin signed on to this. Money is supposed to enable societal cooperation. They are making that impossible. Mark P, that is absolutely true. But understand, from their standpoint, it has nothing to do with cooperation. It's how can we get more? How can we get more? How can we get more? That's all. They don't pay for social cooperation. When Republicans are getting money and Democrats are getting money, this has nothing to do with social cooperation any more than corporations, you know, that are doing oil and gas care about oil and gas. They care about the profits. They care about the profits. Manchin did not vote for this bill. Thank you, Jay Scott. That's what I thought. I didn't think he was going to do it. Rural and red states will have to feel great pain. Yes. Yes, so you can essentially get this thing of pulling them out of the morass. Yeah. They need to wake up. It's like they need to... When Susan Sarandon kind of made this thing about the revolution and all this other stuff, she had a point. She had a point. This idea of soothing status quo, where you put somebody in that office who makes you feel good, even though the things that person is doing is just as bad as the last president. And you have this, you know, this lurching forward of sorts, thinking that there's going to be this better tomorrow. It's like, you know, the light at the end of the tunnel is a bus. Something needs to change, man. And doing everything that we've continuously done, it's not doing it. What wakes the public up where the public says, oh my God, they're fucking us over? What wakes it up? What wakes it up? I don't have an answer. We the people do not get what we want. Tabitha Enriquez, that is right. To mostly young corporate masters control how we vote. That's sick. Yes. Get mad. Get mad. Get pissed off. Get pissed off. Being pissed off is better than complacency and better than this thing of there's nothing that we can do about it. There are 99% of the people in this country. Economically, you're far more similar than you are and divided. The legitimacy of your government. Like, I guess I'm trying to get across this thing that you have a rogue government. That government in no way is responsive to what you want and what you need. This is shameless. This is shameless. Like, understand what's taking place. This is not, we're hiding this under the guise of trickle-down economics. This is, it's broad daylight. We've taken the mask off. And we are going to touch you and do very bad things to you in the broad daylight. We don't care if you're looking. We don't care if you see it. You can't do anything about it. Can't do anything about it. That's what this is. Republicans is going to have to explain to me why this is okay. You have a public that is overwhelmingly against what's taking place. I ask this question, why is it okay? Say, for instance, you are a Republican. Say you're a Republican that thinks this is just fucking awesome. But you understand the overwhelming majority of the public is absolutely against your aims. How are you on this thing of government if you believe that it's okay for us to do this? This thing is going to put $1.5 trillion on a debt. I say I'm a deficit hawk. I'm a Republican. I'm supposed to be leaving a deficit, but I'm okay with putting $1.5 trillion on the national debt, on the backs of the middle class, while giving that money as a tax cut to the top 1%, including this idea of even the estate tax. I'm going to gut Obamacare. I mean, I'm going to get 20-some million people off the healthcare rolls. I'm going to raise taxes on the middle class that is already suffering the worst income inequality that this country has ever had. That's the Republican Party. Understand the only reason that the Democratic Party, however, or the Republican Party is that rabid, that rapacious, and that batshit crazy is because the Democratic Party has moved so far to the right that they use this political gimmick of we're at least worse. The crazier that Republicans got, the more batshit crazy Republicans got, meaning as Democrats slid further to the right, that is a political strategy of sorts. We can slide to the right because you have nowhere else to go. It's only two of us. They're batshit crazy. Doesn't matter what we are. They're batshit crazy. You're going to have to vote for us. That's a political trick. That's a political gimmick. How do you break that gimmick? Like each and everything that takes place, you always are willing to go back to the party that beats and slaps and fornicates and cheats on you. It's like I walked in on my wife having sex with the neighbor. But my wife tells me I have nowhere else to go, so I just sit there and watch. The left, the dementor crowd. That's the dementor crowd. That's the dementor crowd. Your husband, your wife, your spouse is having sex with the neighbor. You see it. You're angry about it. The guy tells you, go get him a ham sandwich. You go get him a ham sandwich because your wife has told you that nobody else is going to love you, that you can't go anywhere else, and that ultimately it doesn't matter what she does, that you are still going to be there in the morning. That's why she's going to continue to cheat with your neighbor and your gardener and your mailman or whatever else. She's sexually liberated. That's not a bad thing. That's actually a good thing. The problem is you're standing there. You're standing there. You're a cuck. Dementor. This is a bad day. This is a bad day. I mean, don't misunderstand me. They're going to rape the crowd. But put it in perspective. Bush put these nasty, disgusting tax cuts in office. When he was in office, Obama enshrined those things into law, into permanence. 80% of it anyway. Let's not pretend that Democrats are beneath tax cuts. Shirley Vick, BB Hammer, I love those shows too, plus watching the Hawks and Jesse Ventura. RT, yeah, I like RT. I like RT, and I like Jesse Ventura. Rebel Cage Rattler, Jamal, you know how to say fair enough a lot. I found myself saying a few days ago when I was talking to someone in the store, and I grinned because I realized it was rubbing off. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I say fair enough because ultimately, you know, you're stuck in this subjective ambiguity where you, to some degree, have to take certain perspectives as being, okay, fair enough. I disagree, but fair enough. I can't necessarily say you're wrong. It's a perceptual thing. Yeah. I say it because it's true. It's true. I try to look. It's one thing if we're having the conversation and the conversation boils down to something where we're describing the real world, then yeah, that's not fair enough. This is real information that we have to actually describe the environment, and what you're saying has to correlate to the actual environment. Is this wall blue or is this wall green? Well, that's somewhat of a flat fact question. But if we're talking about subjective stuff, yeah. Republicans just abused us all with their tax plan, and Democrats again stood by and watched, feckless and weak to do anything about it. They're going to pull the American public's pants down again with net neutrality, by the way. And after they do this, they're going to go for Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. What does it take for the American public to say enough? Does it take losing Social Security? They're not going to take it wholesale. They're going to cut it. Once people get used to the fact that it was cut, they're going to cut it again. And they're going to cut it again. And they're going to cut it again. And eventually you're going to get this normalized environment where the public believes that these things that are raping them over, again, even worse, the parties moving further to the right, is just the normal way of operation. When does America say, we're done? When does it say we're done? The Democrats need to grow some balls. The Democrats need to be voted out of fucking office. They're weak and feckless, and they've shown themselves to be complete failures to do anything about it. These are the most batshit crazy group of Republicans that this country has ever seen. And part of the reason they're batshit crazy that they've ever seen, because for the most part, the Democrats have ceded so much ground that the playing field that they're playing on is further to the right. They didn't do this for good reasons. They did this because they wanted to raise large amounts of cash. And whatever business model they had in regards to raising cash, they gave that up in order to take cash and lean a particular way. It's not about them growing some balls. The Democrats have fucked you over because the Democrats have certain interests that disallows them to have certain conversations that the public needs. It's not that they don't have balls, it's that their balls are in a glass jar. If they're going to have conversations about class, which is the conversations that they need to have, they're going to lose their funders and their donors. So those conversations are off the table. That's the honest to God truth of what takes place in politics. They're not weak because they're just squishy and weak as a character trait. They're weak because they're silenced by people who they need to get cash and money from in order to run in those elections. As long as they're beholden to that wealthy interest, you're going to have weak, milquetoast Democrats who don't necessarily know what the fuck they stand for. And Republicans are going to be able to pass shit like this. These are the most rabid, batshit crazy Republicans, and Democrats can still in no way win. The indignity of a guy who's a fucking pedophile, and they still don't know if they can win that contest. Losing to a pedophile. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. It's immensely embarrassing. Profoundly embarrassing. Coyote Bongwater. Coyote Bongwater. Do we have time to fix any of this? we could hit the climatological runway point at any time now. If we haven't yet, once that happens, we're on borrowed time, dark days ahead. You're talking about this this climate change idea, this idea that at a certain point there may be drivers that affect climate in a way that's not this kind of just basic standard growth pattern, but it becomes exponential at a certain point. It becomes this kind of runaway thing that we can't necessarily control, and the jet stream shuts down and all. Look, I'd argue that science is a crapshoot. There's certain things that we have evidentiary and everything else, but there is no way for these guys to completely predict what may take place. And I'm not talking about climate change. I agree with the climate change. I believe that part. I'm talking about how bad it is. Meaning it could be far, far worse than what they're predicted. That those runaway drivers, those things could actually be real. Those things could be real. We are playing Russian roulette. We don't value real things, man. We don't value real things. The political party in this country that has the responsibility of running the government of this country has made a decision to take away from the least of us. Take away from the least of us in order to give to the people with the most. That is something profoundly sad and pathetic. That this is one of the major parties in this country, and that the other party in no way could stop them from doing it. Whether there's a consequence, that's a separate question. The consequence is going to come from the American public, because it's not going to come from the Democratic Party. At which point are you tired of this, man? That's all. At which point? Bullshit, man. This is how we unify against the system. Not partnering, voting, and bought and sold politicians changes nothing. Instead, burn the whole thing down and start again from the ashes. Yeah, man. In the earlier video I did, I guess yesterday, I kind of made this point that if nothing else, like if there's, to wherever I am on the political spectrum, whatever is the opposite of my political, whatever that is, that esoteric, whatever, if we can agree on nothing else, we bitch and moan about one thing after the next on this idea of what society should look like, on the potentials of the society itself, on ideas of empathy. We complain and bitch and moan about one thing. There is a divide between us. But I would say, if nothing else, if you disagree with me on each and every point, you've watched each and every one of my videos, and you think I'm a fucking asshole, if nothing else, we should be able to agree on this idea of corruption. Why are we okay with this in our government? Why is this normal? Why are we okay with this idea that we have these corrupt elements in our government where these people will get like $1 billion or $500,000 to run in a race, and that what people want in regards to the electoral system itself in no way corresponds to what takes place when they get in that office? What does take place is people leaning in the direction of cash. I'm making a point that that's instantiated corruption that has given this idea, this fig leaf with your genital showing on the side of the fig leaf, because you can't necessarily hide the fact that you're being bribed. That should not be okay. There's no context where that should be okay. We can bitch and moan, we can have these ideological back and forths and everything else. I could leave thinking that at the very least this guy meant what this guy was saying, and he wasn't necessarily taking a hard, fixed position because he was being bribed to take that hard and fixed position. If nothing else, if your integrity is intact, we should be able to agree on anti-corruption. Left, right, anywhere in between, anywhere on the political spectrum, I don't give a shit what you are. If you have this earnest level, just a basic fundamental level of integrity where you care about the actual apparatus of government itself, and you think that government should be responsive to the public itself, then what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you for and against corruption? And if you're against corruption, is that not a point of focus that the left and right can unite on? Is this kind of people's engine thing, or does people strike back? Yeah. Dax Jacobson, the GOP just turned 100 million Americans into tax cheats. Zero chance I'm paying more taxes. Well, the one thing that the government does have at the end of the day is force. The moment that you say that the government's force is illegitimate, then you have a revolution. You have a revolution. As long as the government creates some level of legitimacy where it is the sole bearer of force, it can beat you, it can kill you, it can encage you, put you in a prison, it can torture you, it can throw you into a black site. The government asserts that that's its right. We're the government, we're the doom bringers. Whether we're right or not, we're right. You're not going to do anything about it. The moment a society looks at that and says, yeah, that force is illegitimate because you're illegitimate yourself, you have a fundamental change in the way that you view your society, and you view it with a much less legitimacy. You have a pretext for a revolution. What Theodore Roosevelt was talking about, what FDR was talking about, was capitalism eating itself in the same way that these guys are eating themselves. They're filling their gullets. They don't understand that at a certain point, people lose it and actually start coming for the people who are fucking them over. They think that the American public is going to be okay with this. And I suspect that at some point, there's going to be a group of Trump supporters who are like, he fucked us over. In the same way that many Obama supporters finally came to the realization of, he fucked us over. We're in the same boats. You don't realize it, you're in the same boats. Not for help in chat, that's for damn sure. Laughing my ass off. Not call for help in chats. It was not call for help. Shirley Vick, I know, keep your head up. Of course. Keep your head up. Did they also repeal Obamacare mandate as part of the overall? Supposedly, yeah. At least that's the last I heard. Rebel Cage Rattler, Malcolm X got upset at his black brothers and sisters for waiting on government to give them equality and freedom. They basically kind of yelled at them to stop it and take it. Oh man, you're going to drag me to a tangent. The Martin Luther King Malcolm X thing was fascinating because you understand that it wasn't one or the other, it was both. There is no context where Malcolm X gets, or Martin Luther King gets his gains without having Malcolm X being the other side of that to scare the shit out of him. Think of it from the standpoint of the Democratic Party and having this third party where the Democratic Party understands that they could potentially lose. They saw Malcolm X and said, oh my God. Malcolm X, or Martin Luther King, became much more palatable in the face of a Malcolm X. What Malcolm X wanted was, I want what I'm supposed to have now. I want my equality now. Shouldn't take a year, shouldn't take 2 years. This is a perceptual shift. I want what I want now. You acknowledge me as a man, you give me what I'm due. Martin Luther King being more on the side of, this needs to be nonviolent, this needs to be peaceful, etc., etc. White society during that time in no way thought there was issues of race. They literally had people, second-class citizens, going around telling the world how they themselves should behave and everything else, while at the same token having blacks being murdered by cops, having blacks being hung, having blacks being completely disenfranchised and treated as second-class citizens, while the society itself, in no way, thought that was a problem. That society thought civil rights were perfectly fine, and they moved and shifted when Martin Luther King was able to show the disparity of saying, look, we are human beings. You have a choice between Malcolm X, the fox. You have the choice between Martin Luther King, to some degree, the hen. They chose the hen. Not because they had this huge thing of, we need to do something different. They understood that the society needed to change. And to some degree, they were terrified that blacks was going to align with this kind of communist, socialist element. So yeah, the society moved and changed. Democrats, in this particular day and age, and you can call it the black misleadership class, the way that Glenn Ford calls it, yeah, they've become completely accustomed to this idea of, we're terrified of Republicans, we're voting Democrats. You have some of the upper echelon Democrats, or some of the rich blacks, who vote Democrat almost as this kind of cultural, automatic thing. As an African American, you understand there aren't two parties, there's just one. There aren't two parties. The overwhelming majority of African Americans in no way sees this idea of two parties. They always see is, it's either I'm going to vote for a Democrat, may vote for a Green, or none at all. But ultimately, that usually just boils down to Democrat because they're terrified of the Republicans. They lose all agency. just by virtue of being in this country and with the history that this country has had. There's a reason Democrats hug identity in this way. It's easy to be multicultural and be a capitalist. You have more people to buy your stuff. Here's shit that I don't need. Let's get people to buy more shit that they don't need. So yes, as a multiculturalist thing, that's great for you. Eminem loves it when all people of different shades of complexions buy their products. Pepsi loves it. All those different shades and everything else buy their products. If you can replace issues of class that came up in ideas of New Deal politics and everything else, and you replace that with issues of identity, then that's what you have as the current Democratic Party. This party that focused completely and almost exclusively on identity because issues of class adversely affects elements in their party that gives them massive amounts of cash. They can in no way challenge that power structure. So this is the weak milquetoast Democrats that you get. Oh, Lauren, my volume is low. Oh, thank you, Lauren. Thank you. Let's see. Let me make sure. I might just be talking low. I think I'm getting tired. Don't be low. God damn it. Thank you, Lauren. I appreciate it. You need to remove the word crooked from your title. That's reserved for Hillary, not accurate to say that about Flynn. Flynn got locked. He pleaded guilty. What do you call it if he's not? It's going to fucking jail. What are you talking about? That's not the definition of crooked? Are you telling me that Hillary Clinton is the only person on this planet that reserved that definition of crooked? That seems unfair. You seem biased. BB Hammer. Orthidium. You're not equal, you are. You're not equal, you are. I don't understand what that means. You're not equal, you are. To be Enriquez, democracy and capitalism are inherently incompatible. Yes, that's true. Agreed. I will hold that argument. Yes, I would argue that point. Agreed. Merced Cali. Flynn was crooked, says ex-CIA Karikaku. Yeah, BB Hammer. Lots of innocent people are convicted and go to jail. That's true. But Flynn... But I gotta be honest. I don't care whether Flynn is guilty or innocent. So I don't necessarily have this huge... heart pouring out. I do think it's funny in that case, but I don't understand why you think he's innocent. Flynn is going to the court to convince you to say, yes, I did XYZ. Is this a political hit? Probably, yeah. Let's be honest, it's politics. Do you believe that any of these guys are spotless? Many people are spotless. Yeah, Hillary Clinton should have the name Cricket. I'm pretty sure that this guy should have the name Cricket. Donald Trump should also have the name Cricket. Most of these guys should have the name Crickets. Most of these presidents are killers and should be dragged before the Hague. I understand what you're saying. But it's like, let's put this shit in context. That word is not necessarily reserved for Hillary Clinton. That word can go around to a lot of people. And I gotta be honest, I'm not that convinced that Flynn should be absolved from that. Flynn was anti-war. That's a big loss from Trump's administration. BB Hammer, I can agree with that. If you're right, I can agree with that. Fair enough. It's like a bunch of bad options, and this one is, less bad. Mueller's special counsel should be fired because he helped Hillary win the uranium deal. This was bigger than we see on mainstream news. Shirley Vick, let's talk politics for the moment. You're Donald Trump. Mueller is having an investigation in which, at this point, they're trying to take your head off. You're trying to create a pretext in order to get you out that office to put Pence in that slot. What do you do? I would run against the investigation. I would challenge Mueller's legitimacy by saying, just like you said, I would make the biggest stink about it as I could possibly make. You have the bully pulpit. You unfortunately chose an inept attorney general in Jeff Sessions, and in no way is Jeff Sessions helping you out in this. He's not helping you out at all. It's amazing. It is a November 5th Tere. Without Remorse 12. When the white nationalists and militia groups rise up, they won't fight the government directly. They're going to destabilize the country just like the Middle East. That's the scary part of our revolution. It's completely unpredictable and unwieldy. Completely unpredictable. Dominique Zalusimi. Why was he crooked? Because he tried to improve relations with superpower we have been demonizing and sanctioning for bullshit. He lied for DC, nothing burger compared to the Fusion GPS Uranium 1. Look, that's fair. I agree with you. It's just, well, I can't say I agree with you because I don't necessarily know. I'm ambiguous about everything that went on in this. Yeah, he lied. Is that lie enough for this kind of scandal? People lie all the time, man. I'm not saying that as give it a pass. I'm just trying to put it in context. Richard Nixon worked with the Vietnam. Richard Nixon went behind the back of the president and the government itself in order to prolong the Vietnam War, so he had a better chance of running in that election. It's fucking treason. You can hear LBJ does a video, does a recording of LBJ screaming obscenities, talking about Nixon went behind his back and essentially committed treason. Ronald Reagan, same thing. Held the hostages just long enough so when he went against Jimmy Carter, that, you know, it makes Jimmy Carter looks bad. Jimmy Carter lost that race. They released those hostages almost immediately after Jimmy Carter loses the presidency, presidential election, or something to that effect. But it was within a period of time. But they held those hostages purely so Jimmy Carter would lose that presidency. I'm sorry for what you go through as well, Snort. My thoughts are with you. He lied about nothing. So what if he talked to Russian ambassador? Everyone does indict, convict all the time in DC. Nothing new. Putin wanted Obama, not McCain. Maybe. But come on, Putin also wanted Trump. I'm not saying there was any collusion there. I don't know why there needed to be collusion for Putin to do whatever he wanted to do. I don't think this is any thing there with the Russia-Trump thing. I think this is a bogus thing. This was a leak. I don't think this was a hack. This is Democrats screaming at the top of their lungs to obfuscate that they failed Donald Trump. They failed reality shows. That's what all of this was about. All of the stuff we're trying to convict this person or that person is all to tarnish the administration itself. Flynn lied. That's what it boils down to. Flynn lied. Was that lying enough to get him put in prison for all that time? Those are different questions. But yeah, of course, this is Washington. Of course, it was politics to some degree. Rob Illinois, Real News just published a video Flynn was a dud. Rob Illinois, I can believe that. Flynn was just another scapegoat for heartbreak killer. I can believe that too. I think this stuff is politics. Now the question becomes brass tacks. If there's a legitimacy to it. Like, it's one thing to say, yes, Flynn lied. Flynn was acting as a foreign agent. Flynn was working behind the scenes, etc., etc. That stuff was illegal. That's one point. And you can say, just as this kind of flat thing, that yes, that took place. The second question becomes, is this a politically driven thing? Probably, yeah. Probably, yeah. Yeah. Thanks, I'm also busy playing a video game. My hands were busy. BB Hammer Flynn's just another scapegoat for Heartbreak Hillary. Heartbreak Hillary. Crooked Heartbreak Hillary. What I will say, man, is they should investigate Hillary Clinton. They should. I do not understand. TYT, it just blew me away when they made this argument. If nothing else, this issue of corruption in your government is a big fucking deal. I don't care if that's Donald Trump. If they find information that Donald Trump did something illegal, take his ass out that office. I am nonpartisan on this. The issue needs to be corruption. I don't care which party it's coming from. The issue needs to be corruption. The Hillary Clinton Foundation, WikiLeaks, even hell, Donna Brazile talking about the FCC thing. There was never a real investigation dealing with the email thing. That's the first point. WikiLeaks, what WikiLeaks exposed needed to be investigated with regards to the Hillary Clinton Foundation. That's the second point. Hillary Clinton's interaction in the State Department, taking money and then doing favors in the State Department. It's kind of pay-for-play politics. That's another thing. It's one thing after the next that could be investigated, and then they give all the stuff a pass as if the stuff doesn't exist. But so I get your point. But they went after Flynn. Hillary gets a pass, they went after Flynn. This argument that, yes, they might have taken bribes on the uranium one. Yes, Bill Clinton took $500,000. Yes, the Clinton Foundation got $145 million. This looks like a bribe to me. This looks like somebody doing favors for influence and trying to get influence by greasing other people's hands. That's what that looks like to me. Gave it a pass. How do you give that a pass? Like, that fucking blows me away. I don't like political witch hunts. That's not what I want. But if you're asking me that there should be a special prosecutor, it's a special prosecutor that's going after Trump. Is that guy impartial? And if the guy is impartial, then you're telling me that it is possible to hire somebody who's impartial to have an investigation for Hillary Clinton. If you're saying that the guy for Donald Trump is not impartial, then you're telling me that it is impossible to have an honest special prosecutor, which kind of negates the entire thing of having a special prosecutor in the first place. Which one is it? All of these Democrats have been coming out saying, don't look into any affairs dealing with Hillary Clinton, even saying it's breaking the investigation, or it's interrupting the investigation. Look at some insane stuff. She's fair game. I'm sorry, she's fair game. I don't like putting people in prison. I don't like this idea of trying to lock people up. I don't like any of that stuff. You know what I like even less? Corruption in my government. I like that even less. And right now, I think we have a corrupt and fundamentally corrupt government. Holy shit. Brahm said, we love what you're doing. Please don't stop. Brahm SL1, thank you. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I absolutely appreciate it. Khalida, also weird, TY2 during the primaries were pointing out that Hillary Clinton was crooked. Yes, yes. Would it not be the Justice Democrats' best interest to get Hillary Clinton out the way? Why is TYT defending her? Because TYT functions within the Democratic Party. Call me a cynical asshole. Call me skeptical. Whatever you want to call me, fair enough. But what I see is there's an organization that's associated with the Democratic Party now because it's calling itself Justice Democrats. Now, they may say we're trying to take Democrats out of that office. They may say we're trying to replace them. All that's fair. Fair enough. But certainly there is an incentive in this thing of we don't want you to go after Hillary Clinton. And the connection, the tie between those two things. I mean, I think it's a fair question to say, is your tether to the Democratic Party through the Justice Democrats thing in any way affecting your decision to not want to go after Hillary Clinton? Or are you just in this kind of Trump derangement syndrome where you're like, I don't want to do anything dealing with Clinton because I want us to continuously focus on Trump? I would make the point that both of those perspectives are somewhat problematic. If you're going to take that step, if you're going to take the stone of saying, yes, it's very possible that she was corrupt and she did something that had no business doing, meaning she was bribed. But for whatever reason, I don't want to have an investigation, even though it's very possible that she was bribed. It doesn't follow. It just doesn't follow. That's all. It doesn't follow at all. Jimmy Dore has to make a decision to leave TYT. Jen Alfred, Jimmy Dore does not have to make a decision to leave TYT. That's how you feel. That's not necessarily associated with Jimmy Dore. Until you guys can show that Jimmy Dore is in some way changed, alters his content, is somehow lesser than for being associated with TYT. Jimmy Dore isn't going anywhere. This stuff is with you. This stuff is not with Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore is perfectly okay with being with TYT. I would imagine that you guys are going to piss him off royally by asking him the question. When I talked to Jimmy Dore, I asked him, what is his affiliation with TYT, or what was it like in TYT during the election, because it seemed like there was stress between him and the main show. He supported, even in his answer, this idea of TYT, so I'm pretty sure he gets a lot of people asking him the same thing. I have no issue with Jimmy Dore being with TYT. He is who he is. If at some point Jimmy Dore changed what he was saying in the show, that's different. And if we're being honest, Jimmy Dore went balls out against the main show, by the way. The main show was in this camp of Trump is horrible. Hillary Clinton is, fucking awesome at this point because now we're going to vote for Hillary Clinton because we're terrified of Donald Trump. All that stuff. Jimmy Dore went the opposite way and bumped heads on the show because he went the opposite way. I don't see this thing where he needs to leave. I don't get it. I don't get it. BB Hammer, I love how Jamal says AKS, keeping it real. AKS? What's AKS? I don't know what that means. I don't know what AKS is. You put me on the spot. I don't know what the acronym is. Snort Y2K. For TYT, is Dore's best access to a large enough population to fund the Dore operation? Yeah, Dore, Snort. I don't think it's just this kind of, he's adding some level of credibility to them. I think it's mutual. I think it's mutual. Winkle the Burning Bro, I'm with Jamal on this. I don't care if Jimmy did. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care. It's not changing. It's not change. Oh, ask. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's adversely affecting his show. Like, it's one thing if his show was, you know, Trump derangement syndrome all of a sudden, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm fucking changing with the show. It's not the case. It's not the case. He's saying you say ax instead of ask. Oh, yeah. That may be true. Yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. BB have a good laugh. The message is what matters. Yeah, the message is what matters, but I do want to say it right. I don't necessarily want to. If I'm getting tired, yeah, my language gets a little slurry. Jamal, who is your little Funko figure there on your desk? This is Jean-Luc Picard. I have the entire Star Trek Enterprise. I have data in here somewhere. Someone said, dude, you should have something on your desk. Your desk is always empty. I do have a notebook right here, but nobody can really see the notebook like talking about. And so I thought I would start putting these on my desk, but they look weird when you have too many of them. And there's something sad about having the entire Starship Enterprise in Funko figures. So I usually only show one Funko figure at a time. In this case, it's Jean-Luc Picard. I see 4 lights. I see 4 lights. Yeah. Don't ask my mom to use a gun. Jesus fucking Christ. How fucking racist. Ask. Jamal got his crew. He's ready to take on the galaxies. Yeah, that's my point. I'm not a Funko addict. I bought all the stuff at one time. I was at this was like a year ago. I had never even took these things out the box. We went to a video game store. I was looking for Bernie Sanders. I was looking for the Funko Bernie Sanders though. And they had like 1 or 2 things on sale. So it was like, oh, okay, I'll grab Picard. And it was like, well, you can't get Picard without getting Riker. And you can't get Riker without getting Data. You can't get Data without getting Geordi. You can't get Geordi without getting Troy. And you end up like, fuck. I get all these little cartoons. You should make a chess set out of them. I know, right? A bunch of Funko dolls. Impressive. Orthodom. Yeah, maybe. Put a wall-mounted shelf behind you so you don't knock them over. Yes, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Flynn isn't crooked. He told the truth, sort of, eventually, at some point. Yeah, maybe. Lauren, make no apologies. I make no apologies about this. I'm proud of having these guys up here. I wish I had Kirk. I wish they had Sanders, but I'll deal with the ones I got. I have plenty of them myself, Jamal, mostly My Little Pony and Monty Python and movie related. That's awesome. That's awesome. Bushy, man, what happened with Hard Bastard? I don't remember him doing streams. Hard Bastard wasn't feeling well. Last I heard, he was having throat issues. He wasn't feeling well. I hope that's not me overstepping my bounds. But yeah, you know, it's funny. Holly was talking about sane progressive issues, kind of making this point of this thing of pulling outside of the political process. I agree with saying on this. I totally agree with saying on this. Maybe not to the degree it's saying, because I don't believe that the political edifice is just destroyed. I mean, the political edifice is just a perceptual thing. Ultimately, looking for something as a club to kind of make those things right. Either you're going to have control of your government, or your government is going to have control of you. And right now, it's the other way around. It's the latter. It's the latter. Do I pull this country in a particular direction by being complicit in this kind of rigged system where you have 2 right-wing parties that are creating this false idea of what the political spectrum is? Or do I change this by going through this path or through this door of saying, no, I don't believe this particular thing represents my interest, so this thing is not getting my vote, and I'm okay with the Democrat losing in this process until that Democrat either fixes the shit that's wrong with this party, or that party goes defunct and something else takes its place. I'm okay with each. I think that's a fundamental level that the person needs to be willing to go in order to get the party to change. Otherwise, there's no tension. There's nothing there to make that party change. It knows you're going to be there in the morning because it knows that you believe that there's nowhere else to go. So I will That's yeah, like I said, man, that's my stump speech. That's my sermon. I full well believe it. We are all confused seeing Rebels witty. What? Rebels are witty? Send them my way anytime. Yeah, that's funny. That is funny, Snort. That is funny. Rebel Cage Rattler, now that I know your doll's name. I was laughing because I saw him in the back and I was like, that's cute. She has this little doll and the room looks awesome. Never use the word crazy, but you go ahead and slatter it all over yourself. Jamal, don't harsh my mellow. What? Don't harsh my mellow with the greens yet. Don't harsh my mellow with the greens? Yeah, I don't know what that means. Yeah. I'm unsure about Debbie's position. Just walking away means you're letting them do really whatever they want. It will make shit worse. I know elections are rigged, but you have to overwhelm them. Yeah, I agree. But you know, I always say you have pitchforks or dollars. I don't think she means just walk away from the standpoint of I'm just walking away and I'm not doing anything. At least that's not what I mean by it. I mean, your best, you need a movement. You need political will. And how do you create tension to get that political will if the party just believes that in every situation you're going to be there to vote for them? Hillary Clinton wins in 2016. Hillary Clinton privatizes Social Security. Hillary Clinton puts a missile defense shield in Syria. Hillary Clinton shoots down a Russian jet. Hillary Clinton gives a tax cut. 2020 comes. And, oh, by the way, she passes the Trans-Pacific Partnership. 2020 comes. She's running against Ted Cruz. What do you do? What do you do? Do you turn around and vote for Hillary Clinton again after she did everything that you were terrified that the Republican was going to do? Because you're terrified of Ted Cruz? What do you do? What is your strategy? I'm making this point that, yes, you need to play the electoral game in a sense, but you also need to be aware that whatever I do, I can't necessarily allow the system to... There is a chance that I'm going to lose just because I have to play this particular game or this recognition that the game is rigged and pulling myself out that process. Your power in this is their capacity to lose. Unless you have this other power of being able to overwhelm them and get those people in office. Support your candidate vociferously. So I'm not saying completely pull out the process. I am saying that if Joe Manchin beats Paula Swearengin, are you going to support Joe Manchin just because he's a Democrat? At least in name, he's a Democrat. That's my point. Bruins for free speech, as Jamal would say, you're weak tea. That's being polite about it. You're classic. Caitlin was talking about hillbots who can't argue. You're the same. Oh, what happened? What happened? You first, LMAF. Oh, God. It's good. BB has discovered the word crazy. First step to discovery. What the hell are y'all talking about? You need to let it go. You're the only one pushing this BH here. Uh-oh, what's going on? You guys bought an argument from somewhere else. Yeah, I was a let it go dude. Let it go. Let it go. It's not that important. Life is... they're passing a budget that's going to literally fuck over the majority of the population. And you guys are arguing about some petty shit online. Let it go. Thank you, Jamal, for your compliment on my bedroom. Your bedroom looks fucking awesome. I do love my Woody. I was looking at the lights in the background. It looks like you had... It looks like you had a man cave. I'm being honest. Like this kind of like this chilled, laid back environment of maxing out. A friend of mine in New Orleans, she had a man cave in the house, and it's just this kind of like this black light, laid back environment. It's hard to explain. In my old apartment, a little before I met my wife, my entire bedroom had these like glow in the dark stars. And there were like multiple black lights in the room itself. I fucking love that room. It was so chill, laid back. I like Holly more than Debbie since Debbie is always yelling. Tay-Ray 88. Debbie is a force of nature. Debbie is a force of nature, man. When Debbie is doing her thing and it's something that you agree with, it is a thing to behold. It is a thing to behold, man. I know you say she yells, fair enough. And I do the yelling too sometimes, but I guess it depends on what it is. If it is something that's digging in you, though, like I'm trying to put it in context. Like, you're feeling something. Something is digging in you where you're angry about it. But you're not angry about it because you're just shocked by it. You're angry about it because the thing is taking place in the first place. It's like in a sane, rational world, what would be the response for this particular thing taking place? In what sane, rational world will they put $1.5 trillion on debt? Will they get rid of, 24 million people off the healthcare rolls? And will they increase taxes on the middle class? All to give the rich more. Mind you, at a time of epic income inequality. That's what they're doing. That's not a sane and rational world. What is a human being to do when they're confronted with something that's not sane and rational at all? And they full well understand that it's not sane and rational. They're not ambiguous about it. I am perfectly clear that these people are fucking over the public. And I'm also perfectly clear that the other party in no way offers a solution out. It's angst. It's aggravated. What is the actual and normal reaction of a human being when they're confronted with something that's aggravating, that they don't necessarily have a solution to, but they want to highlight and get across? Yelling sometimes suits that bill. I don't falter. I don't falter at all. Debbie has tenacity. It's sorely needed. Yes, she does. Independent outsider. Agreed. Agreed. Humanist Report, TBTV, Jimmy Dore, Secular Talk, Jamal, top 5 political shows. Oh, I appreciate it. I have nowhere near the views of any of these shows, so I appreciate you even including me on the list. Alright, I'm going to call this quits. I'm hearing my wife going upstairs. I'm going to go check on Miss Thomas. Guys, I really do appreciate you guys showing up. And I appreciate all of the super chats. I appreciate all of the patrons. I appreciate all that stuff. Like I said, I'm so much shocked that people are that people tune in and listen. It's not that I don't like my shows. I think my shows are good. I like my shows a lot. I can listen to myself, which is, I guess, the gold star of sorts to some degree. But I do appreciate it. I don't like to do the thing of asking for money, and I always feel weird even doing the little thing at the end saying if you enjoy the show, etc., etc. But no, I enjoy it, and I enjoy doing it, and I appreciate, I guess, the fact that people appreciate it, if that makes sense. So you guys have a good night. It is almost 3 in the morning. I don't know where you guys are, but why this guy gets around. He was in Rebel Cage Rattler's bedroom a few minutes ago. Do not tell Mrs. Thomas that. Do not tell Mrs. Thomas that at all. Thanks for all your show. Always like your calm and detailed info. Best. Ah, thank you. I appreciate it. How many lights do you see? I see 4 lights. Torture me all you will, sir. I would only ever say 4 lights. You know, at the end of that episode, Picard saw 5 lights. He said I could almost see 5 lights. Yeah, that's funny. Alright, guys. You have a good night, and thank you for tuning in. Good night, everyone.